This is Whiskey Whereabouts. I'm Tim, and this is the Benrinnes 15-year, the Flora and Fauna release, the only official regular bottling of this distillery's whiskey in single malt form. It might be the best of the Flora and Fauna releases, but how good is it? Are we missing out on a hidden gem that's wasted on blends? My whiskey journey has taken me to Scotland and back. I've explored whiskey education, tastings, and distilleries from Islay to Speyside. And now my journey continues here, with you, on Whiskey Whereabouts. So if you're not familiar with the Flora and Fauna releases from Diageo, they're whiskeys from distilleries like this one that don't have much in the way of core range single malt on the market. They're all marketed with a similar sort of label and presentation. They'll have these little animals. This one has a grouse on it, a less famous grouse from Benrinnes. And this is a less famous distillery because there's almost no single malt out there. This is independent bottled Benrinnes, so you can get it that way. As is often the case with distilleries like this one, where most of what they produce goes into blends. Since it's Diageo, most of the Benrinnes goes into Johnnie Walker and J&B blended Scotch, but they've given us this one 15-year presentation as part of the Flora and Fauna release as an official. There was a special release, Benrinnes, as part of those annual special releases that come out each year, but this one is close to a regular sort of core range representation of this distillery as we are going to get. And unfortunately, it's a Diageo presentation with the 43%, and that's all fake color, and it is chill filter. This is bourbon and sherry matured. So let's talk about the distillery a little bit for a minute while this one finishes opening up. A nice 15-year whiskey. I can already picking up the nose just leaning in to talk. We have 6 stills at the distillery, and until 2007, I believe it's 2007. I've seen in other sources 2009, but I believe it's 2007. If you know definitively, tell us in the comments. They used to have a sort of 2.5 times partial triple distillation setup happening, and then they ceased that and went to standard double distillation. And this bottle I bought in 2022, which means even the 15-year whiskey, if it was straight into the bottle, would have been from that era. And obviously there's probably older whiskey in here from the triple distillation era. So I'm going to pour some of this out into a little bottle and just tuck it away. And down the road sometime when I get a chance and get another one of these, I'm going to want to try to compare to see if it makes a big difference. What I am told is that they've made every effort to preserve the character of this whiskey. So what else goes into that character? We've got about a 65-hour fermentation, I'm reading. That is not, that's not huge. It's not overly light, overly estery. It's pretty average. The stills, kind of pear-shaped stills, and I understand the wash stills are twice the size of the spirit stills. Pretty big difference in that construction. That kind of makes it a little unusual. But the big thing here is the use of the worm tubs. And if you're not familiar, there's a handful of the distilleries in Scotland still use the worm tubs rather than the modern condenser. And this is the way that they cool the spirit that comes off the still. The worm tub is a sort of tube or pipe that is in a cold water bath. It looks like a giant hot tub. It's going to preserve some of the heavier elements, the sulfury kind of elements. This may be starting to sound familiar. We've got a Diageo-owned distillery located in Speyside with a strange partial triple distillation and worm tubs, and that reminds us of a specific and particular distillery. More about its counterpart in the Diageo profile in a little bit. Now let's go in on the nose neat. I first poured this and just took the first nose. A lot of that nail polish remover kind of cloud hangover. Needed time to dissipate. Got rid of that neck pour. Leaving this one open to open up a little bit. It's 15-year whiskey. Want to give it plenty of time. And with time that dissipates. And it is moved out of the way, and it's left behind a lot of sweetness. Yeah, that cinnamon, spice, that sherry that you're thinking of, but it's also got some light fruit that reads a little Speyside. Sort of green apple fruit. There's a leather here, and there is a meatiness. It's definitely here. It's ham-like. It's sweet, cured meat. So a pretty impressive variety off the flavor wheel here that we're getting on the palate. Yeah, it's sweet. It's orange chocolate on the when it really arrives, and there is a nuttiness here. There is definitely a savory meatiness. That is really like char, kind of burnt ends barbecue. It's buttery. Again, with that saltiness and that savory, kind of creamy, buttery, and there is a definite mint here. Clean, sort of cool mint on the palate. On the finish, we have a chocolate sweetness. We've got that sherry spice again, but now I've got a new element offsetting it. It's not just savory. Here comes the bitter. There's tannin sort of from the cask. There's a dark chocolate going on coffee ground. It's not a huge finish, but the flavors are pretty robust. It fades pretty quick, very down the middle, medium finish. Not a lot of heat here. The last thing this whiskey needs is water. It's already overwatered, but I'm gonna hit it with some water to see if I can't pick off a couple more flavor elements in there. Oh yeah, here's the purpose of the water. Okay, so it's a little washed out. Some of those flavors that we had were washed out, but the fruit element is gone totally different. It's raspberry now, almost raspberry filling. There is more of that leather. It's butterscotchy. There's a grassiness to it that just wasn't. It was buried in the mix. So on the palate now with some water, nice chocolate cream and caramel drizzle. It's sort of butterscotchy now with the water. I'm losing a lot of the dimensions here. The good news is it was already washed out. Neat. So now with the water, it really doesn't destroy any sort of mouthfeel or anything like that. Still very, very sippable. And it hasn't sort of completely ruined what was here. It's made it a little more basic, a little bit more straight, sort of rich sweetness on the finish. Oh, yeah. Again with the tartness, more berry. That orange citrus, real chocolatey, a little bit of dash of the cask, maybe a little bit of pepper. So a few new things floating around in that whiskey. But before I give this one a rating, I want to compare it to its cousin. This is a Mortlach. This is a travel retail Mortlach, but it's real close on the age statement, so I'm going to use this one. 14 years. This is the one I have. And Mortlach is also a Diageo distillery, and it was once what Benrinnes is, a whiskey that was primarily there to contribute to the blends, and it has grown out to its own sort of identity with a core range of single malt whiskeys. Your mileage may vary on how you feel about these. They have a very complicated 2.81 times distilled. It has this distinctive, sound familiar, right? The worm tubs, going for that old style. This is not the water pour on the Benrinnes. I'm just going to go in on the nose here on this Mortlach. Oh, and how different does it present? Much greener. That's the thing that's jumping out. It's vegetal. It's just cleaner, and it is lighter, kind of vanilla sweetness. There is some of the fruit that we expect from these sort of Speyside presentations. Yeah, but I'm getting more tropical on top of there's some of that apple-y. This is more of a tart green apple when I was just nosing it. And this one is more of a sort of a red kind of mealy apple. But I'm getting more to the tropical, more of the sort of banana-y kind of element here. And jumping back, there's that meatiness. It's so unmistakable by comparison here. There's something here, but it's brassy. This is 43.4%, that weird Mortlach, but still terrible presentation here. And it is just as sort of weak and kind of watery. It's even weaker on the finish, to be honest. And in that, there is this element of something that really wasn't present that much on the nose, of a little bit more of a savory character, but it's nothing compared to this. The rich kind of sweetness, the orange. I think that mintiness is there as well. On this one, yeah, this one is just trafficking in so much bigger flavors, and then volumes turn way up. The sweetness, that savory element. This is on a whole different plane. This is way more intense in the flavors, not the experience. It's not hot. It doesn't have a big mouthfeel. It doesn't have a lung finish. But it has big flavors. And they're not what you expect. If I poured you a flight of 12 to 15 year Speyside whiskeys, you would not expect this type of experience to come at you. To me, that's what makes it noteworthy. That's what makes it worthwhile. And I'm sure that's why it's been successful as parts of blends. I'm going to give it 3.75 glasses. I am happy I opened this bottle, and I'm going to enjoy drinking it. As a sort of a light whiskey with a light presence, but not really light flavors, which is a nice balance depending on what mood you're in. With value, this one's just not available over here. It's hard for me to put a value on it. Master Malt has it for the equivalent of like $72, which is reasonable for a 15-year whiskey. I can't get it here for that. I'm just, it's sort of a special case because they're kind of limited, and they're kind of just, they don't get around very much. So I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna rate it on value. So we'll just leave it at 3.75 glasses. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments if this is your favorite Flora and Fauna, or if you've got another challenger. And in the meantime, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos. Press this big button right over here, and I will see you on the next one.